Uriel here from Arda, and I wanted to go over how we use Kanban around the shop. So just gonna rip through a few examples of nice implementations, scanning the software, etc. So this example is great for webbing. It's also good for plywood, other sheet goods, where we actually tuck these brackets into the rolls. And so these are a send, cut, send part. We can share the file if you ask us for it. They're hand bendable, so they come flat packed, and then you just clip the card to it and slide it in. And we found this just makes it super clear to anyone around the shop, very low ambiguity about exactly when to reorder. A few more examples here. You can see we do a 2-bin system, so we're picking from the front, and then when we run out of stuff in the front, there's more behind the card, so we just pull the card and drop it in a 2-order bin. So we have those placed strategically throughout the shop. Here's one, so that would just go there, and then at the end of the day or the end of the week, we round them up and deal with them later. That's an example of a Kanban. A riff on that is the Kan bag. So these come in bags. We just set our minimum to 1 bag and clip a card to it, and we just sort of drop that at the back. When we run out of these rubber caps, we just open the bag, dump them out, and that's our cue, and a really obvious one to trigger the card in the same way. You can see rolls of tape. Anything we need to keep in stock, we have cards to do that. It just reduces the time communicating across the team about what needs to get ordered when. So $150,000 machine doesn't run without all these different cutter bits in the tool changer. So this is how we manage our tool crib. 2-bin system front to back, tool 1 in the machine, spares here. If you need more, there's a card on top, so that would trigger the reorder. Scan the QR code, which I'll show, and that aggregates everything by vendor. We even have a secondary vendor, etc. So tools 1 through 10, and here we use a Kan bag. So we have a bag with a card in it. If you open this bag, you need to trigger the reorder for more probe tips. And that, so if you have a CNC, this is a really nice way of doing it, and we like to do all the consumables. So now we're at the back of the machine, and it has this grease pack. This is actually a great example. The grease pack is low, so I'm gonna go ahead and change that. And without communicating across the team about exactly where we bought this last time, etc., there's just another one sitting right here. The card is a little dusty, but it includes all the information in the QR code about where we bought this last time. Typically, I'd waste maybe 10-15 minutes making sure that I was buying the exact same cartridge size for this machine. So this saves me 10 minutes per time that I trigger this. And more importantly, if anyone else goes and changes the grease and they don't know where that purchase happened, all they do is drop that card in a 2-order bin, and we can keep on rolling. And it'll be quite a while until we have to change it again. This brings up a great point. We've found that Kanban cards are really critical for the things we use every single day. So all of our consumables on our shipping station, we always need to have in stock. But it's also useful for the things we rarely order. So maybe once a year, because then you forget where you ordered it last time, which exact part number it was. And so then you spend 40 minutes trying to dig out your old email where you had the PO, find the old vendor, maybe they changed the listing. So it just saves a ton of time with the very infrequent. And the infrequent stuff is also critical for keeping machines running in a good way. You don't want to run a CNC without grease. That brings us to the digital side. I have the card. I'm just going to drop it in the triggered bin at the back. That's how we do it. We always put stuff at the back and pull from the front. So it's sort of a FIFO system. So just gonna open up a browser here. So silver PLA, now we're in Arda, just click add to cart. And that added 4 rolls to our order queue, which divides out by vendor. Now I'm gonna scan this next one. Brother CNC grease, that's what we wanna order. Add that to the cart and move this over to add it to cart. So I can go about my day, but later I can do this from home or I can do this now. I would go to order queue in Arda, and we have our different vendors for anodize. Costco is divided out, so all of our snacks. CNC specialty store is where that Brother grease is purchased from. So then I'd click this blue button on the side. That's going to go to the exact link, and then I'd complete the purchase on this website. And then when I go back in here, I would just mark this green check mark to indicate that I have actually executed the purchase. Once that happens, the physical card would get moved to the order is purchased, and then we're gonna do our receiving from this bin. So then I'll show the receiving process. So just got this from Amazon. We like to keep our ink in stock for the printer. So I'm gonna grab these, go through my ordered cards till I find the magenta and blue cards, and then I'm going to restock these on the shelf with the card in front of them. So next person who needs to replace the cartridges pulls the card and the process repeats. So this is just a dead simple way of doing all of your inventory for a shop, all your variable consumption goods. Even if you have an ERP, this is just a dead simple way of doing all your variable consumption goods. We also use it for all of our internal production. So this is going to trigger more parts to go out for anodize. So every time we use up a bin, it's going to trigger production to replenish that bin. Many people have heard of the 2-bin system. Toyota actually uses many Kanban in one loop. And so we have found that having more points where we're triggering a reorder makes the whole system run more smoothly. So you can see all these different cards here. So as we're assembling buckles for the different orders, we're triggering those reorders from our anodizer. When that trigger happens, we're going to go here and pull parts from our machined inventory. You can see there's cards in here too. These cards here, when triggered, go on the side of our CNC right here. You can see this is a bit of a mess, but just wanted to show you the real nuts and bolts on the shop floor, how it works. And then we come and we pull cards from the highest level. So we machine these next and pull the cards to the front of the machine where we have what's running now. And then when those parts come off the machine, the card goes with them and travels through the process to replenish the buffer of machined parts. So this works both for externally produced goods, reordering from Amazon, reordering from McMaster Carr. It also works for reordering from your CNC department or from your 3D printer. On the topic of 3D printing, another really cool thing we can do is actually put a pre-sliced file in ARTA in the QR code. And so when this card gets pulled here, these are our grippers for the automation on our CNC mill. When a card gets pulled, you just scan the QR code, download the file, and you know it's going to be the right filament, the right infill, the right number of perimeter layers, the right number of perimeter layers, etc. So this just reduces the challenge. You don't have to be tracking or re-exporting from Fusion 360. And here's our 3D printing area. One thing I wanted to show is a lot of replacement parts for machines are really critical to have on hand. So we just do this many cards, many boxes approach here. These are all replacement parts for that 3D printer because it is a critical part of our production. If this thing can't replenish parts for our automation on our CNC mill, it's going to idle the CNC. But we also manage all of our inventory for our filament. So here's the different colors we like to have in stock. We just have cards tucked in here that make sure that that gets reordered at the right time. So hopefully that's useful. That's sort of a lot of different ways to implement ARTA in a shop for different types of supplies, all the basic cards, and just really increases efficiency on the shop floor. Hopefully that's useful, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. And if you want to implement ARTA in your shop, head over to our website to book a demo.